Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 39. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajakacarya Astotara Sata Shri Srimad Aisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Pramsika Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 39. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena konteya dushpurena nalena va. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina Kamarupena konteya dushpurena nalena cha. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina Kamarupena konteya dushpurena nalena cha. Avritam, covered. Jnanam, pure consciousness. Etena, by this. Jnanina, of the knower. Nitya Vairina, eternal enemy. Kamarupena, in the form of lust. Konteya, O son of Kunti. Dushpurena, never to be satisfied. Analena, by the fire. Cha, also. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Thus, a man's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Purport. It is said in the Manusmriti that lust can never be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. In the material world, the center of all activities is sex, and thus this material world is called Maitunya Agara, or the shackles of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sense gratification means increasing the duration of material existence of the living entity. Therefore, this lust is a symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena konteya dushpurena analena cha. So here Krishna continues to explain the reason why we are in the material world and how we are being kept prisoners here and how to become free from the limitations imposed upon us within the material environment. Just like in a prison house, the prisoners still have a normal day. They eat, they exercise, they work, they sleep, they bathe, they do whatever needs to be done to maintain the body, but they are restricted. They want to be free and they cannot be free. They are locked. Their movement and their aspirations for freedom is blocked by the prison authorities. Because of the criminal mind, these people are not qualified to live in normal society. Because if they were allowed to live in normal society, the criminal activities cause a disturbance. Therefore, the state puts them in prison. In the same way, there is the kingdom of God, which is compared to the regular government. It is the government of God. It is free. It is full of opportunities, full of pleasure. There is no restrictions. There is complete freedom. But the condition of remaining in that situation in the spiritual world is that you have to follow the laws of God. Just like in the material world, if you want to live in normal society, you have to follow the law. Break the law, they put you in prison. In the same way, you break the law of God, you cause a disturbance in His kingdom, then you are put into the material world. Factually, in the material world, we are struggling because we are, by nature, we are eternal. And that is seen in our desire to live forever. We don't want to die. Why is it? The reason that we don't want to die indicates that there is a situation where we can live forever. So that is called Sat, or being eternal. And Chit, our nature is Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, we are eternal. Chit, we are full of knowledge. How do we know that? We know that because we are struggling to get more and more information. As our body grows from childhood to youth, to young man, young woman, then we study and we learn more and more. We are never satisfied with getting knowledge. We always, because that also indicates there is a situation where there is full knowledge, unlimited knowledge, which never ends. And Ananda, we are looking for happiness. We are always, our whole life is based upon finding happiness. And that indicates there is a position where there is eternal happiness. So Sat Chit Ananda, this eternal knowledge and bliss is part and parcel of who we are. But in the material world, we cannot manifest these three qualities. They are being impeded by the shackles of the material prison. And the main shackle, the prison that keeps us here, is sex life. What is the problem with sex life? The problem with sex life is that if you live to satisfy your sex urges only, then you become immersed in the bodily conception. You become immersed in ignorance. You don't realize your spiritual nature. Spiritual nature means that you do everything for the pleasure of the Supreme Spirit. Spiritual nature means that you don't identify with the body. As soon as you don't identify with the body, then you get an understanding of your relationship with the Supreme Soul. And once you understand your relationship with the Supreme Soul, then your path to perfection begins. Your path to become Sat, Chit, and Ananda, or eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. The path to that state begins by understanding that you're a spirit. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is advising Arjuna. Why? Because Arjuna is not satisfied with his material situation. Arjuna is not satisfied with having to fight with his relatives. He is identifying with his relatives, and because of this identity with his relatives, he is confused. He's not getting any happiness. This is the material world. Now, you may say, well, I'm enjoying the material world. I have a good body. I have money. I have a nice house. I have a partner. I have everything I want. I am happy here. But Krishna says, even if you think that you're happy here, that happiness is temporary. There are four principles which are paramount, which are imposed upon us: birth, old age, disease, and death. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're a king or whether you're an ant. These four principles apply. You cannot remain permanently happy. You have no idea where you will go after death. And that in itself creates huge subconscious problems in our psyche, in our mind. And it's manifested in depression, in imbalanced life, in longing, in pain, because we understand that no matter what we do, it will be defeated. When I was a young boy, my parents moved from Italy to Africa, and I studied in an English school. And because it was a Catholic school, and because I was Catholic, I got a special study bus, and I was able to go to this quite important school, actually, the most important school in our city. And my schoolmates were all from good, rich families. their parents were lawyers, professionals, politicians. They were well-to-do. And when I would visit my friends in their homes, I would see that even though they had all material facilities, the family sometimes weren't happy. There would be divorce, or there would be internal problems. So I thought to myself, what is the point? I'm going to this good school to get an education, to get a degree, so that I can become like them. But they're not happy. So already as a young man, I had doubts about the validity of the material world. And frankly, the only reason that I cooperated with the material situation is so that I could enjoy sex life. Basically, I worked Monday to Friday so that Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday I could spend with my friends and chase after girls. That was basically my life. And it was fueled by alcohol and sometimes drugs, and the ultimate goal was sex life. And I went on like this for years, but eventually I came to understand that this is not making me happy. This is not solving my problems. Because even though I would find some pleasure, after some time the pleasure would turn to pain. Therefore, I left Africa, I came to Europe, I came to live in Amsterdam, and I tried to understand what was the purpose of my life. And by Krishna's mercy, I met his devotees, and I was able to understand that there is an alternative. There is an alternative to ignorance. And I was given a Bhagavad Gita, and I studied this book, and there Krishna deals with his problems. He begins by telling Arjuna that you need to have a teacher. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavam aham avyayam. He said to Arjuna, I have instructed the science to the sun god millions of years ago. So this is not something new. Just as the soul is eternal, the relationship of the soul to the Supreme Lord, the life of the soul, spiritual life, is also eternal. It is coming down from millions and millions of years, and the message is always the same. We are spirit soul, we are part and parcel of Krishna, and our happiness is only satisfied when we connect with Krishna. Just like my finger is useful as long as it is connected to my hand. If the finger is amputated, the finger may be there, my hand may be here, but the finger is useless because it is separated. In the same way, when we are connected with God spiritually, then we will feel happiness. Just like if you put water on the root of the tree, all the branches and leaves become nourished. So in this verse, Krishna is explaining that the bondage in the material world is lust, and there is no end to it. It is like a fire. The more you put fuel on the fire, the more it burns. So Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita that the purpose of human life is to execute Sanatana Dharma, is to look at ourselves and see, to make an assessment of our life, who we are, what makes us move, what makes us tick, what is the essence of our life. We see that we are serving our senses, we are serving our family, our friends, and that service gives us some happiness and sometimes disappointment, but in any case, even in happiness of service, it comes to an end. It is temporary. Therefore, when we apply the service attitude to the eternal realm, to Krishna, then we become happy. So this service attitude is called dharma. Dharma is the essence of who we are. Just like the essence of fire is heat and light. The essence of water is clarity and liquidity. The essence of salt is saltiness. The essence of chili is pungency. So in the same way, the essence of the living entity is to serve. And that is called dharma. And the Bhagavatam explains that dharmasya I apavargasya. narto artaya upakalpate. That the process of dharma, the process of understanding of spirituality, is to become free from the pavargas. So the pavargas are taken from the Sanskrit grammar. The consonants in Sanskrit grammar are divided into vargas of 5. Ka, 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 ga, ga, like this. So pa, 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 ba, ma. This is called the pa varga. So the pa varga is, pa means parabhava, that the material world always ends in defeat. Any activity within the material universe separate from spirit is defeated. We may build the biggest kingdom, but in the end it will be defeated. So, 2. Pa, pa. Pa means pena. Pena means foaming at the mouth. That the material world makes you work. You cannot even maintain your body without work. And sometimes you have to work so hard because people who have capital, they will exploit those without capital. People who are strong, they will exploit those who are weak. So the material world is a struggle. And the struggle is so hard, it's like a horse. When he gallops and gallops and gallops, eventually he gets foam at the mouth. He becomes exhausted. That's called fena. And then pa pa ba, bihartha. Bihartha means disappointment. That no matter how much energy, how much work, how much time we invest in the material situation, be sure it will end in disappointment. You cannot be happy here. It doesn't matter. There is no money, there is no satisfaction of the senses, there is no relationship, there is no home, land, there is nothing here that will make us satisfied. Ultimately, it will end in disappointment. This is called Vyartha. Then, ba, 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 ba. Ba means bhiti. Bhiti means fear, that we are always afraid. We don't know when we're going to die. We don't know when some disease will come. We don't know when some accident will come. We don't know when our loved ones will leave us or turn against us. So we're always in bhiti or in fear. And pa 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 bha ma. Ma means mrityu. Mrityu means death. Ultimately, everything is finished with death. That is the problem with the material world. I often give the example that our material life is like a movie. Everybody likes to watch a movie, and when you watch the movie, you enter into the plot. You become part of the movie. You forget your surroundings for 1.5, 2 hours. There is only one problem with the movie. The problem is that last screen that says the end. It is finished, and then you have to again come back to your normal consciousness. In the same way, no matter what movie we enact for ourselves in this material plane, with family, friendship, and love, ultimately it will come to the end. And all this becomes manifested when you identify with the body. If you turn that around and identify with the spirit, then suddenly the body is not so important. Once you identify with the spirit and take spiritual instruction from a bona fide spiritual master, tad vidi pranipatena pariprasnena srivaya, Krishna says, find someone who is enlightened, offer him service, surrender to him, upadekshanti te jnanam jnanena tattvadarshina. One who is tattvadarshi, who has seen the truth, can give you the truth. And this is the great gift that Srila Prabhupada has brought us from India, this knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. Then, the purpose of Dharma is apavarga, to go beyond this papa, baba, ma, or this disappointment, hard work, fear, and death. Apavarga. So dharmasya hi apavargasya hi. Certainly the purpose of life, the purpose of our duty the purpose of manifesting our inner ability, our inner life, is to go beyond these 5 principles of material life. Nartasya, dharmaikantasya, kamolabhaya ismritaha. And one who takes to this path should not use the path of dharma to satisfy material goals. The purpose of dharma is to go beyond the body, is to control the body and understand our eternal relationship with God. And if we can do this, we become happy. Ramante yogino anante. A yogi, one who connects his inner spirit with the Supreme Spirit, is called a yogi. Yoga means to connect, to make a connection of the Spirit to the Supreme Spirit. Ramante yogino anante. One who is a yogi, who connects, he enjoys Ramante anante, unlimited pleasure. Ramante means pleasure, Rama means pleasure, and anante means without any end. So Ramante yogino anante. Chidananda tad atmani. Why does he become joyful, Ramante? Chidananda, because he discovers his eternal nature, his eternal pleasure. So Rama itya bediyate, that's why one of the names of God is Rama. That means one who gives us unlimited pleasure. This is the purpose of life. Don't waste your time trying to find pleasure where there is no pleasure. We're living in a society, a materialistic society, full of technology, cities, machines, but it is all temporary. It is all subject to destruction. It is actually ugly. Prabhupada left India, Vrindavan, Calcutta. He came to Boston, and when he arrived in Boston, he looked at the city of Boston, at the skyline, because he was on the boat. He went through immigration in Boston, then he went on to New York. The ship went on to New York. But his first landing in America was in Boston. And he looked around, you would have thought that he would be impressed with the skyscrapers, the highways, the motor cars, all the opulence. But he wasn't. He wrote a very beautiful song when he landed on the pier in Boston. America, Markine American Dharma. Markine Bhagavad Dharma. How to present this knowledge of the Supreme Lord to the Americans. So, he began his poem by saying, Boro Kripa Koile Krishna Adamera Prati. The Lord Krishna has given me so much mercy. Boro Kripa. Kilagi Anile Hetha Koro Ebegati. So I don't know why Krishna has brought me here, but he's given me so much mercy. So let that mercy become manifested. A devotee is not happy just being happy himself. He wants to make others happy. To become a devotee of Krishna means to receive unlimited mercy. And that mercy presses down on the shoulders of a devotee. He wants to unload that weight of mercy onto others. Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharo, the Sikh Goswami, they were loaded down with the mercy of Krishna. So, then Prabhupada continues this poem, Ache Kichu Karma Tava, Ache Kichu Kajatama E Anumane, Nai Keno Anibe E Ugrastana. He says, I think Ache Kichu Kajatava, you have some work here. E Anumane, I'm thinking. Nai Keno Anibe E Ugrastane. Otherwise, I don't see why you have brought me to this horrible place, Ugrastane. Far from being impressed with the skyscrapers and the motor cars and the technology, Prabhupada called it Ugrasthane, or a place of ugliness. And in fact, it is like that. Any modern city, metropolis, whether it's London or New York, if you look, it looks nice on the surface, but if you go behind the alleys and look in the back of the buildings, it is nothing but dirt, it is nothing but garbage. So this material world is garbage because it keeps us in prison. So get out of this prison by controlling the senses, by understanding what is the purpose of sex life. Sex life is there in us because it is there in Krishna. But that sex life becomes perfect when we connected with Krishna. Physical sex is only one part of sex. Sex contains many, many emotions. And when we channel those emotions in relationship with Krishna, then that sex life, that lust becomes purified because it is actually the reality. And as far as physical sex is concerned, if you want to use physical sex, then use it to produce children who will become Krishna conscious. Then that physical sex is also according to Dharma. Therefore Krishna says, Dharma viruddha kamosmi, that sex life which is not against the principles of religion is as good as myself. So this is the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Don't waste your time chasing sex life. It will simply entangle you. Simply take advantage of Krishna, pray to him, and Krishna will make you understand. Once you understand the theory, once you understand the mechanics of the spirit and the body, then the whole life will change. Thank you very much. So we have our friend Axel Atmavidya is checked in. Hare Krishna, only still on Facebook for one reason, the Gita class. Practically speaking, that's the only reason I'm also on Facebook. We sorely need an alternative. Mandy Pryor is also here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Premavati, my respectful obeisance to all present. She continues, he saw the sad state of the people of America. Exactly. Prabhupada didn't come to America. He often used to say, I came with only a few dollars in my pocket. I didn't bring money. I didn't bring people from America. He came to give something. He came to give us. He came out of compassion. And believe me, it's easy for us Westerners to go to America or to go to London or here and there. But for Prabhupada to live Vrindavan in those years, at his age, with his culture, and come to America, it is a giant step. It is inconceivable how he could have done that. And he did it because he was pushed by a desire to help the poor souls who are suffering in illusion. Like right now, we are in the middle of wars and fighting, and the threat of nuclear Armageddon is upon our heads. What can we do? What we can do is to pray to Krishna, be Krishna conscious, and pray to him. Please, if there is one person who can resolve all the problems, that's Krishna. Thank you very much. I'll see you on Friday. Haribol.